Today, I would like to talk about something that is super important for all beings here on Earth, but that is something that often falls by the wayside or can be hard to achieve. It's something that when they've done all the research around the blue zones, and if you haven't heard of the blue zones, I encourage you to check that out. But basically, it's looking at the communities that are living for the longest, right? The communities with the best longevity. And obviously diet has a factor to play in that. But one thing that it's probably the one thing that I struggle with the most, to be honest with you, in terms of achieving all of those aspects of healthy vitality, blue zone living, is community and the importance of that for living a healthy, long life filled with vitality, right? So, not that, so that's what I want to talk about today is community. Looking at, how we can build community, what community is, and also, of course, because this is a show about animals and we are animals too, but also looking at how animals exist in community. So, yeah, not the surface level, like I follow that person on Instagram, whatever, not that. That's not community. It's a modern day attempt at community that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that kind that feels that you are part of a connected tribe, the kind where you feel seen, where you can share a photo of your dog's raw dinner, fresh food, whatever, or a story about your cat's latest chakra healing. Nobody raises an eyebrow. They're just like, that's so cool. And they get you and they understand you. And you're like, you just have that connection, right? That's the kind of, community that I'm talking about, feeling seen and feeling heard and being able to contribute, but also be able to receive from that others' contributions. And over the years, I have forged some beautiful, deep relationships with clients, and often they join like a course for information, but they stay and they keep in touch because of the people that they meet and the connections that we make. And this tells us something important. Humans need to belong as much as they need oxygen. So today we're going to have a look at a bit around the psychology behind that need, how I try to bring community into how I've tried to create community for like-minded souls who love animals and want to care for them holistically. Hello and welcome to the Natural Animal Podcast. I'm your host, Ruth Hatten. I'm an animal naturopath and big animal lover. Here on the show, we share thoughts and ideas about the nature of animals, their preferences, their behaviours, their ways of being, to engender a greater understanding, respect, compassion and love for all animals, companion, farm and wild. I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Let's start with the science. From an evolutionary point of view, our ancestors survived because they banded together in groups. A lone human out there on the savannah would not have lasted very long. Safety in numbers, right? And that wiring hasn't changed. When we feel accepted, when we feel part of a group, our brains actually release oxytocin and dopamine, chemicals that make us feel safe and rewarded. And who doesn't want to feel safe? And this is something that, exists for our animals too, that feeling of safety. And that's something that, for me, it's like, as a forever pet parent, one of the communities being the community that I have with my own animals, that is where I feel really safe. And this is the same for a lot of people. Where do they feel the safest? With their animals. And that can arise from certain traumatic experiences or, troubling relationships in the past where they've had relationships with people and they haven't felt safe. They don't feel that safety that they feel with an animal because an animal shows up unconditionally, right? Whereas humans have more, can fall into that trap of more being giving their love conditionally. Like, I will do this if you do that. I will love you if you're like this. I will love you if you show up for me in that way. So we don't have that with animals, right? Um, and we can define ourselves partly by the groups we belong to. This is called, in psychologist speak, this is called social identity theory. So, yeah, so if we're part of a group, we identify or define ourselves partly by the groups that we're in. So a group might have a certain community, have a certain value system, belief system, and that goes into the way that we define ourselves. Finding a group that reflects our values can strengthen our sense of self. So that might be plant-based eating, holistic pet care, wildlife conservation, climate change, healthy eating, building Lego structures. I don't know. Go wild, right? Go crazy. It tells us I'm not the only one who cares about these things. And that feels safe, right? That's like, it's not just me on my own here trying to battle this thing or trying to bring forth this thing. There are others who are like me. I'm not alone. We feel safe within this community. We feel seen. We feel heard. We feel supported. We feel part of a tribe, right? Then there's learning, right? Learning, there can be a lot of learning in community, right? Because when you're in a safe community, you feel safe to share your views and what you think. And over time, you learn things, I would hope. So there's a saying, teach, learn, teach, or learn, teach, learn. Basically, what that means is if you learn something, then you should teach it. And then when you teach it, you also learn it or learn something new. So you learn by the act of teaching. And yeah, you learn by the act. I was going to say you teach. Like I'm pretzeling my brain, but basically I'm just going to leave it there before I go crazy. So community can accelerate learning, which can accelerate growth. When we share ideas, swap resources, witness each other's progress or achievements or successes, we have the ability then to integrate knowledge at a deeper level because it's like we're seeing it. They did it. I can do it, right? They know this. Now I know this. Um, this Another thing is that community offers, which is probably the most powerful thing, is emotional resilience. So life gets wobbly, right? Life can be hectic. Life is, as I often say, life happens, right? There's always going to be ups and downs. So when you're part of a supportive group or a supportive community, that can help to buffer the stress of life happening. That can help us to keep going, to see the light, to know that there is, there's hope. And yeah, we're supported. We're supported by this. We're not alone. And it's not just humans that crave and benefit from community. Animals form complex communities and complex bonds of their own. Let's have a look at some. When we look at mammals, let's start with wolves. They live in packs with defined roles: breeders, hunters, guardians. Elephants travel in matriarchal herds where older females guide and protect the young. Primates, I should say, like chimpanzees, use grooming and vocal calls to maintain alliances and reduce conflict. and keep each other clean and parasite free, right? Then we can look at birds, many birds from parrots, and I've got a parrot story to tell you, from parrots to crows form long-term pair bonds. Now, recently I've been getting, me and my neighbours have been getting visitations from a king parrot who me and the kids next door have called George, King George. And he comes, he's quite robust. Apparently, I think he's a bit of a tart and goes to a lot of people's houses, and a lot of people feed him. He's very comfortable with humans. He will sit on your hand, sit on your arm, and feed off of you, right? And he comes along and he sits outside and he chirps to say, "Hello, I'm here. I'm ready for my snack today." And, I have three cats, and he still comes and he still visits. And sometimes, oh my God, he even flies into the house. And I've got another bird story to tell you whilst we're talking about birds and communities in a second that literally just happened yesterday. But King George has a girlfriend. And this morning I was doing my little Pilates workout thing in the living room, and spied King George out of the corner of my eye, and he was on the roof of my neighbour's house. And Mrs. King George was with him too. She's not as, she's a lot shyer than King George. She's visited before, but she won't like eat from your hand like King George does. But King George did not come begging for food this morning. He was frolicking with his girlfriend. So that was beautiful to see. So king parrots are one example where they do form long-term pair bonds, right? So don't know how long King George has been together with his wife, his girlfriend, but it's always beautiful to see them together. And as you know, flocks of birds cooperate together. Like you've seen them, right? We've all seen them. They're flying in the sky in those beautiful patterns, right? They share food. They warn each other of predators, which brings another story that I want to share with you. Oh my gosh. Yes. So every morning, the boys get to go out in the garden, to the fenced off section of the garden. And I go out with Matilda, and she's on her harness and lead. And she has supervised outside time. I'm the supervisor. Which is necessary because now all the snakes are coming out and she just wants to play with everything. And so I have to teach her, we don't play with the snakes, and we don't play with the bees, and we don't play with things that sting or bite or harm. So it's constant teaching. She just wants to find, she knows where we've seen this one snake in the same place. And so she just gravitates that area wanting the snake. And I think there was a kookaburra looking out for that snake today for breakfast, but he didn't find him. He wasn't around this morning, thank goodness. We were out a bit earlier today. But that's my story, was that yesterday I was out there with Matilda, and when I go out, my front door, like just walks on the property. The front door is like open, right? So the cats can come and go when they're finished in the garden. And so Elvie hadn't made his way into the garden yet. And I hear this commotion, and a bird had flown into the house, and Elvie had chased him into the house. And I was freaking out thinking it was King George. And I was just like, hey, picked up Matilda, ran inside. Matilda's like, what the hell is going on? Come into my office, like literally right here on this table, under this desk. Elvie has got a minor bird in his mouth. It wasn't King George, but it was still a life. Right? And my cats, they don't need to hunt. It doesn't happen very often, but lately birds have just been flying into the house. I'm like, what are you doing? Stop flying into the house. But there's three cats who want to hunt you because instinctually that's what they know and do. Anyway, long story short, I managed to get the minor bird, although he was hyperventilating. Elvie did drop him. Elvie did listen to me and dropped him. And then I tried to grab the bird, and the bird just flew and was like squawking. And this, you know what minor birds are like. They're on constant surveillance. Minor bird sees a cat. Minor bird tells the whole community, their whole minor bird community, there's a cat, look out, predator alert, predator alert. So this bird in the house was doing that whilst I was trying to save him and get him away, right, from death. So I had to I need a towel. I need to go and grab the towel. I could grab this blanket, but it's a cat blanket and it will stink of cat. That's not going to be good. And then the community of minor birds are going to like, you stink of cat, right? So I wanted a clean towel. But I had to make sure that Elvie wasn't getting the bird. So it was all just, and at the same time, make sure Matilda wasn't going out into the garden where she's not allowed unsupervised. So, oh my God, hectic. Anyway, long story short, got the towel, got the bird, took the bird outside, um, and released him from the towel. And thank God he flew away. So I think he's fine. I don't think Elvie punctured him or anything. I think I got to him quite quickly. But that's a demonstration of the birds warning each other of predators. Like the bird's in here squawking his head off because hello, predator alert. And I was like, oh my God, what if like all the minor birds fly in here to try and protect him? That luckily that didn't happen because that would have been chaotic. And birds even teach songs across the generations. Like, have you heard the song? Like, I love bird song, and it's the same songs. It's kind of like the indigenous, right? And they're teaching the stories. Then we have marine life, dolphins, coordinating with their complex signals and maintaining lifelong friendships. And then I learned today there is a fish species called cleaner wrasses, Wrasses. Never heard of them before, but they are regarded as the cleaner fish of the sea. These are so cool. They literally create mutualistic networks where different species cooperate for survival. So the cleaner wrasses help maintain balance within the ocean ecosystem, keeping the reef fish healthy, which then helps preserve the reef ecosystem. And a really cool thing they do is help prevent diseases by keeping fish free of parasites. You couldn't get a much better community than that, right? I think we should all be like cleaner wrasses. Then we have insects like the bees and the ants that operate as superorganisms with, you know, division of labor and collective decision making that rivals any human city, right? So those examples show that community is not uniquely human. It crosses species, it's biology, it's evolution, right? It's evolutionary, it's a strategy for evolution. Cooperation with community improves survival, supports the raising of young, and helps groups adapt to change. And then we look at, the community of people that living closely with animals. This biology of community is equally interesting, if not more, because we have the cross species interaction. So our dogs and our cats and our horses and even the wildlife around us, like King George, carry the same or similar social instincts. They respond to group cues, form attachments, and read emotional signals. When we create spaces where animals are included, group dog walks, therapy animal visits, even simply sharing our homes, whether that's with domestic animals or wild animals in my case, we tap into a universal pattern of life, connection as a survival tool, but not just survival, connection as a way to achieve depth, connection. So how can we bring a deeper sense of community into our lives? If we know that, well, hello, if we want to live a really long life and be happy and have vitality, looking at all the teachings that come from the Blue Zones work and research is, community matters. Community is important. Community is just as important in terms of health and longevity as diet and sleep and movement, right? For me personally, this is probably the one area where I struggle with the most. Diet, hands down, sorted. Movement, hands down, sorted. What was the other thing I said? Diet, movement. I can't even remember what it was now. Sleep. Oh no, I do struggle with sleep too. Sleep and community are my things where I'm like, ugh. So sleep, I do what I can. Community, we can do community. We can forge community with friendships, with family members, even with colleagues and clients. Now, since got working in my business full time, not having any other job, um, certainly my community has shrunk because I'm not going to work every day. Like I'm not hanging out with the same people at work every day. You create friendships with colleagues. You go out for drinks, you go out for meals. Sometimes, usually, what I find in my experience is those relationships don't necessarily have longevity. They can, but in my experience, it's kind of like they'll last for a little while after you leave the job, or you or the other person leaves the job. But then over time, they kind of just fizzle out, right? So, yeah, you can have those. There's a lot of people that have really close knit school friends that just stay, that clique remains, right? I never really had that. Like I had, that fizzled probably because of, moving overseas and things like that, living overseas. Oh my gosh, Matilda and Elvie are wrestling. They have their own little community, right? Oh, I want to show you, but if I show you, the light's going to fall. You can see Elvie down in the corner there. Um, yeah, they're just adorable. So, yeah, so, you can have really, really old friends like I do. I have, one of my closest friends, we've been friends since we were 12 years old and I'm 47, so it's a long time, right? Um, that's a community. A community doesn't have to be massive. I have community with my cats. We are a community, right? We share, we experience, we love, we play. Like this is a beautiful community. You and your pets are a community. Community doesn't have to be human to human or species or within one species, right? King George comes and visits and tweet, 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 and he looks at me when I'm in the house and he's like, hello, hello. Like, that's a form of community. I don't know how long it will last because, he might get bored and leave and go somewhere where it's better food and it's fed more regularly. But basically, I digress and I'm going off on, blah, 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 blah tangents. So how did we start this? How can we bring a deeper sense of community into our lives? First thing is looking at, well, where actually do we already have communities and how can we make them more enriching, right? Whether that's friendships, family members, colleagues, or clients. In my work, I feel very lucky to say that I have forged deep connections with some clients. I think of clients who years ago signed up for a consult or a program or a course, and today, years later, we're still in touch. We've celebrated pets' recoveries. We've mourned losses of pets and other loved ones. We've shared recipes and herbs and supplements and meditations, wishes and blessings. And those relationships didn't grow because I had some fancy platform. They grew because a few different factors. One, well, we spent time together. Like on my programs, those first consults are 90 minutes. Like we talk a lot and we go deep if the connection allows for that depth, right? If both parties are open to going deep, we go deep. We shared transformations and other things. And in doing that, we built trust and we were able to see aspects of ourselves in each other. And part of my job is to listen with empathy, remember the little details like, dog's favorite treat or a cat's quirky habit, to keep showing up and to be real in that. And that's really important, being real, just being honest, just laying out there, this is who I am. Like it, don't like it, doesn't matter, right? This is how real bonds form. Now, of course, we have Facebook groups, and now you can have groups on Instagram, but they're not a community because, like, I tried it for a while. I started a group called Animal Soul Connections, but there's no interaction. It's just me putting stuff out there. And people can, like, send an emoji like a like or something that I shared, but they can't write anything in there. So without connection, there's no community, right? So I don't see the Instagram, whatever they're called, that's not a community. Facebook, obviously, Facebook groups that have been around forever. I'm not a fan. I've been in a lot. I'm still in a lot. And some I don't, this I can count on, there's probably three groups that I go into regularly. Two are community groups just to see what's going on or to get recommendations for certain trades or what have you. Um, and the other one is with a mentor of mine, someone I've trained with, and someone who I've been on her podcast talking about animals is Alex Stewart's Low Tox Club, her Facebook group. But again, I'm not in there all the time. Like I generally go in there when I'm looking for something. So again, it's not I'm not treating it as a community per se. I'm treating it as a resource, right? So Facebook groups can be great for that. And I'm sure there are people out there that have forged bonds, or I would like to think that there are people out there in Facebook groups that do feel like it is a community. They're just not for me. I get invited to Facebook groups and I'm like, oh, no, I'm not joining because I know I'm not going to go in there. Like I don't use it really much as a platform. Personally, like hardly at all, and business, not really, because of the algorithm. Oh my God, don't get me started on the algorithm. So, they can be good places for quick questions but I think advice that is given should always be taken with a grain of salt, depending on context. But I find the general vibe noisy, transient, distracting, and at times it can be really vitriolic, right? There can be some nasty people in those groups, and who needs that shit, right? Then there are the constant notifications. Of course, we can turn them off. And that's what I ended up doing. I would just turn off all group notifications. And so then I wasn't in them anymore, right? The algorithm deciding what you can see or can't see. The feeling that you're scrolling more than truly connecting. It doesn't create the depth that I'm after. That's, as I said, that's not community for me. Maybe for you it is. Amazing. Brilliant. And then don't even get me started on the trolls, right? Like, oh my gosh, especially in local community groups, like there is just so much hatred out there in the world. And so that's why I'm just like, ugh, I don't want to be a part of that community. So for years and years, I've wanted and tried to create a community for animal loving pet parents who were interested in natural and holistic ways of caring for their animals. I wanted something intentional, for those intentions that I just said, aligned, quieter, a place where true connections are forged, but also where there's learning, true learning, and that didn't feel like it was dictated by algorithms, right? And so for a long time, I've had what's called the Animal Lovers Tribe. This is essentially started out just being my mailing list, right? And then wanting to make that mailing list, so people who signed up for something and then as part of that, I get their email, right? So it's an exchange. They get this gift and for me having their email, and then I can send them emails, right? So wanting to create a community out of that mailing list. A heart-centered space for people who love animals, who want to care for them naturally. Not about numbers, that doesn't need to be massive, but more about an atmosphere where everyone can connect as mindful, animal-loving pet parents. And so recently, I've had the opportunity to review that. I've literally just found this is a feather from yesterday's minor bird. Few feathers were lying around. Anyway, recently I've added a few more features to the Animal Lovers Tribe with a view to creating the community that I have wanted to create for a long time. And I've done different things before, but they've been, hit and miss. So I'm hoping that these things will move the needle in terms of creating that heart-centered, mindful, loving, animal loving, pet parent, natural, holistic community, right? So there's already within that community, you're obviously getting updates from me, you're getting resources, you're getting exclusive content that's not shared anywhere else. You're getting first access to special offers, new courses, new classes, new ebooks, sales, what have you, right? Um, But what I've recently added is two new features. The first one is online live gatherings. And the first one is coming up on when is it? 24th of October. It is a Friday night, which I've never done before, but we'll see how it goes, right? Um, and basically what this is going to be is it's kind of like a pilot session, and it's a gift for tribe members, a chance to connect live, to share and learn together in real time. But obviously, if you can't attend live, you still can get the replay. But obviously, a replay is going to have less of that community feel. So it'll probably go for an hour, maybe longer. And I'm going to start it with a grounding, calm, and center ritual to arrive with your animals. There will be a short teaching on holistic pet care foundations, and then we'll move into an open Q&A session, and a hot seat. So for one or two participants who are there live, giving them, guidance in real time so everyone learns together. Um, and it's all intended to be a gathering for like-minded pet parents to deepen your understanding of holistic animal care and to feel supported on your journey and to feel part of a community. And in that vein of having that community feel, I have limited the numbers of people who can attend. It is free. It is a free gathering, the first one. It's still like a month away from the day that this episode goes live, 24th of September. So it's happening on the 24th of October. So plenty of time for you to still sign up. But there is limited numbers. I'm limiting it to 30, I think it is. So that there can be that, fully inclusive experience for those people who want to share and be part of that inclusive experience. Obviously, unlimited in terms of, well, not really. It's not unlimited in terms of the replay because I can't really control that. But yeah, you register, you get the replay. So there might be things you want to revisit, or even if you can't attend live, you still might want to have access to that, because then you might decide to join a future gathering and be able to attend live. So that's one of my first of two new features of my community that I'm creating. And the second is called Tribe Diaries. Now, this is where I am sharing, it's kind of like a Facebook group feel, but it's not on Facebook. It's housed on my website. Like you get to it from my website. And it's basically where I share like voice notes, like voice diary notes of things that are coming up for me, mainly as a pet parent. So sharing those personal experiences, because, it's things are certainly not perfect. Just because I do the work that I do as an animal naturopath and energy practitioner doesn't mean that everything is perfect here, right? I have challenges too. My pets have challenges too. But it's not just about challenges. It's also about sharing, the joyful times and the learnings and the lessons that these beautiful animals that we live with provide to us. And then there is opportunity there for you to comment. So you can listen to my voice notes, learn, and then comment and ask questions. At the moment, there's a few entries, one about on topics of wandering pets. So what have I got? I've got topics here for keeping pets safe outdoors and parasites. So that's what I've spoken about so far. I am going to do another one that sometime this week on a particular nutrition aspect. So I'm kind of in the process of looking for a new food for my cats. And so just sharing that journey and sharing a possible new food that I'm going to trial. So yeah, it's just stuff like that. So it really is that kind of like inside access. And just to, how do I describe it here? Um, Oi, oi, oi. Inside access. I just want to share these words because I wrote them much better than exclusive tribe diary, short audio notes with behind the scenes reflections and everyday holistic tips. Yeah, yeah. So that's basically what it is. And the way that you access those features, the online line gatherings and the tribe diaries, plus the other things I mentioned, exclusive content, first access, discounts, da da da. That's these are only available to members of the Animal Lovers Tribe. This is my way of saying thank you for giving me your email. Thank you for allowing me a space in your inbox. And hopefully, you do read those. But even if you don't, you can tune into the tribe diaries. You can share in there. We can start to forge a community in there. Or you can join the online live gatherings. And, over time, there's going to be recognition. We're going to get to know each other. We're going to form that community. So if you're looking for something like this, and I know that some of you are, I hear it, the people that have already joined the Tribe Diaries, there's a little questionnaire when you join that I, approve. And, one of the reasons is because people are looking for that community. They are looking for like-minded pet parent tribe community. So if that sounds like you, how do you join? I think you just go to ruthhatten.com/animal-lovers-tribe. I will link to that in the show notes. But it's also pretty easy if you just go onto ruthhatten.com. Right across in the top banner, it says join the Animal Lovers Tribe, get your free low tox starter kit and more. That's another perk of joining. You do get my low tox starter kit, as just like a welcome gift, right? So yeah, maybe that sounds like the community that you're after. I welcome you to explore it, check it out. And if it calls to you, you just sign up right there on my website. In closing, some reflections. Maybe have a think about the communities you're already a part of. Human, no, a human, let me phrase it, non-human animal or human animal communities. Or maybe they're emerging of the two. Or the ones you might create, or the ones that you would like to be a part of. Animal Lovers Tribe. Maybe it's a few friends who meet monthly to talk about herbs or a book club. I've always wanted to create a book club. Maybe it's a local cat rescue volunteer team. Maybe it's a dog walkers group, right? You can create communities. How can you bring more community into your world? Also, where in your life do you feel true belonging? Is it with other people or is it with your animals? And what small step could you take to offer that sense of belonging to someone else, animal or human, today? Thank you for spending this time with me. I really, really appreciate it. As usual, this is longer than I thought it would be because I'm telling you all my bird stories. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for being here. Season 3 will be wrapping up soon. I'm hoping the next episode will be a guest, but we're not booked in to talk until the 10th of October. So there might be a bit of a gap between shows. But yes, season 3 will be ending soon. I would say probably 1 or 2 more episodes, and then we'll be wrapping for the year because I've got some other things that I want to do to close out 2025. If you haven't subscribed yet, or if you've been listening all through the seasons, or even if this is your first season, or even if this is your first episode, and you have not yet rated, reviewed, or commented, or subscribed, or followed, this is a great way to support the show, um, to show that you enjoy it and to let others people know about it. I will appreciate your support so much. Until next time, whether that's 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know yet. But that gives you time to look, take stock of your communities, perhaps join the Animal Lovers Tribe. I would love to meet you in there. And don't forget that first online live tribe gathering is on the 24th of October. So you get links to that when you sign up to the tribe, like they're exclusive links. I can't put those links into the show notes because they are for tribe members only. Same for the tribe diary. So when you sign up to the tribe, you will get a short welcome email series that introduces the tribe diaries, it introduces the online gatherings, and that gives you the links to join those. So yes, thank you. Have a beautiful day. Big love to you and your beautiful, beautiful animals. And I will see you again soon.